Hi, and welcome to Past Life Peculiarities with Jade St. Clair. And today we're going to talk about psychic chords. So one of the most common things I hear in readings is, I can't seem to get this person out of my mind. I can't walk away. I can't seem to let this person go. And there's a reason for that. Part of past life connection involves something called a psychic chord. So what is that? Where does it come from? And how does it form in the first place? Whenever we form an intimate connection with another person, we form psychic chords. And these chords are attached to the energy centers of the body, often called the chakra centers. So think of it kind of like a ribbon attached one person to another. And just a side note here, when I say intimate, I mean anything that connects us in a meaningful, emotional way. So while the physical can be included in this, the definition of intimacy goes much, much deeper. Any kind of shared experience, love bond, even a traumatic event can form these attachments. So the more connected that you feel to a person, the older and stronger these bonds become. And this can extend over many, many lifetimes. One of the key elements to recognizing a psychic chord is that feeling of being drawn to somebody and not knowing why. And if you have a relationship with that person and it suddenly ends, not being able to let them go and not understanding why you cannot. In terms of past lives, the recognition that we have with another individual carries over again and again. And this is where I personally believe we get the term love at first sight from. It's actually not first sight. It is the recognition of a love that has already existed. So it's more like something sparking and you're remembering suddenly, oh, I know this person. So another question is, can these chords be severed? Absolutely. So let's say one of your soulmates is suddenly able to move on from their relationship with you and you feel like you cannot let them go. It's very possible that that person has cut their cord with you because we all have free will. This can be done symbolically by cutting the cords, either with the aid of metaphysical tools or by asking your guides to help. But the problem with psychic chords is they can and will grow back. And opinions on this vary. But my opinion is that the person who has formed the cord has to be the person who cuts the cord. So in conclusion, if you've ever felt this undeniable pull with someone else, or you have been able to let go of someone from your past or your present life, you're not crazy. Psychic chords exist and they do span multiple lifetimes. Okay, so now you've heard my opinion on psychic chords. Ladies, have you ever had an experience with a psychic chord, either on your end or with someone else? Would anybody like to share an experience?
So there was a person that I met about 26 years ago, and the moment they walked into the room, I was like, oh my gosh, I know this person. This person looks familiar. I instantly just was drawn to him. And, turns out that we became best friends, felt like we had a connection and still do 26 years later. So pretty intense energy cord there.
I'd say that definitely qualifies. I've had a similar experience myself, but mine was a couple of years ago when I met somebody that I never even thought we would have anything in common. And then suddenly it was like I didn't realize that I had been missing this person until I had them back in my life. And it was a friendship thing, not a love thing at all.
I feel like, oh, that's another piece of it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. What about you, Joanne? Do you have an experience to share?
Yeah, I've had many clients, in this situation where they've not been able to release somebody. And it's so difficult because they want to, and then they don't understand, like, this is wrong with him, that's wrong with them. And then it's like, no, there's something more to it. So we've actually done I've done cord cutting with some clients with the help of Archangel Michael. And I feel like it, like you said, it's very helpful and it works for a while, but a couple have come back and it's like, maybe they'll forget about the person for a bit, but then something will trigger it again and it will kind of come back. So I've done cord cutting a couple times with one client that I'm thinking of in particular. And she, after 2 times, she's pretty good. She pretty much was able to let go of that person and move into a different relationship. But it did take some work. So I think everything you said is just so on point related to past life, or awareness of the cord itself can just be huge.
And I think it's great that you were able to kind of guide this person and help them, but they still did the actual cutting. And I think that's important. But having someone guide you is definitely essential if you have no idea what you're doing. It can be a really difficult emotional undertaking.
Something that's really interesting to me is that sometimes it's like they can be faint and then sometimes they are thick like rope. I mean, I've had an experience with somebody who we used to walk home from school together. I think he lived down my street or something. And so he would always keep walking when I would go home and he would keep walking. We weren't necessarily friends even, but we did spend a significant amount of time together. And then one day, like 10 years later, I was thinking of this guy. And the next thing I know, I pulled up somewhere to pick up like carry out dinner. And there he is. And he's like, hi. And it's just like, I just started thinking of it out of nowhere. So, I mean, I would assume that we did form some chords because we had a bond. We had something that we did together every day. I would have called him an acquaintance, right? So that was a very faint energy chord. But it was like, man, he came into my mind. And then before I know it, we're eating, carry out together in our, like in the passenger seat of my car. And we're eating this salad and just catching up. And I haven't seen him again. So, I mean, there's a faint one. And then I've had some that are thick like rope. And I'm just the kind of person where, I've not had cord cutting done by another person. I've assisted clients in doing it. But for me, I just sit down. It's like I hit the books and I literally have to start writing, how do I feel when this person creeps into my mind? And how much time out of my day or week is this person stealing my peace? When is the last time that they've actually added something of value into my life? And sometimes sitting there and writing that kind of stuff down, it makes it easier for me to say, you know what, like I call it the cancel, clear, delete. Like then once I've decided that this person does not warrant my brain space, when they start to creep up into it's cancel, clear, delete. Like literally, it's reprogramming your thought patterns.
And see, that's the thing. All of these experiences are so personal to everyone. You can't really tell someone, well, this is how you cut a cord. Like Joanne said, you can assist them, but it's going to depend. For example, I had a best friend that had been in my life for 15 years. And I found out that our entire relationship was basically fake. And I had to cut the cords to get her to leave my life. It took me a good 6 months of cutting it and recutting it, cutting it and recutting it, because it was very deep. And it can be very deep and it can be very shallow. It can be thick like rope, like Allison said, or it can be thin like dental floss. With her, it was thick like steel. So it took a lot of help from spirit guides. And even I had my husband, who is also a metaphysical practitioner, help me with this. And it took multiple people helping me in order to finally get it to happen. So they can be very difficult. And then sometimes it's just like you go snip and it's gone.
Hey, everybody, it's JoJo here. And we're going to talk about today intuitive hits. So ways that you know that spirit is communicating with you. Now, this is all of us, right? So each person, each human being in the world, I believe, and hopefully you might too, that we're all born with this inner GPS system. So we all already have direction. We know where to go. We know what to do. Let me give you a really simple example. So this is a personal example, but I've been researching for a while different hormones, and I'm talking to different doctors and functional medicine people and, trying to get the right idea about what, hormone might be right for me. And then all of a sudden I just am online one day. I see this ad. I see, oh, this looks great. I can just purchase this. I can, get a quick doctor's recommendation and get this stuff. Now, it took me like 3 seconds. I ordered it and it's been working really well. Whereas before it was like, oh, I'm in this big, but it's sort of like my intuition just guided me towards it. Like, that's right. That's the right thing. Do it. And it's done. And then here it is. It's really helping. That's a really simple example. But oftentimes, say you're driving down the street and you might hear like, take a left. You take a left and then you find out later that you just missed an accident that was straight ahead. Or you suddenly think of someone that you haven't spoken to for a while. This is like kind of what Allison just said with the cords. It's all kind of interrelated though. And then you think of this person and, oh my gosh, they suddenly call you. Or you're talking to another friend and you hear a story about them. So all of our intuition is right here. It's the same with really knowing a decision to make. When you have to make a decision and you feel like, I don't know what to do. The pressure's on. What do I do? And you ask a lot of people. Maybe some people don't always ask others, but you try to figure out what's the right decision. And then 1 minute you might be in the shower. You suddenly just know, you know what? I think I'm going to take the job. Or the moment you wake up in the morning, you just get that feeling of knowing what's right for you. So we're getting that intuition all the time for us. I feel like when we need to make a really important decision for ourselves, it can be challenging to decipher what is fear, what's our own intuition, what is just stuff that we're making up. So it's kind of a little bit of something that our gift that all needs a little bit of fine tuning. But once you can kind of see how you work, how we all operate differently with the way we get our intuitive hits, then it can be a gift that you can use every day.
I've had the car thing happen. A bunch of times. And I found out later that there was an accident or that there was something going on, a fire. I feel like there's multiple examples for me personally where that happened where I'm like, oh, I need to go a different route. And then I find out later why.
I've had one that was literally life-saving, where there was a car. I had just gotten my license. I was 16 years old. And of course, I was driving a friend to the mall. We thought we were so cool. We're in the car. We're listening to Skid Row at 150 decibels. And this oncoming car is coming at us in the wrong lane, head on. As an inexperienced driver, I had no idea what to do. And I just thought to myself, turn the wheel and go into the median. That had never been taught to me. I didn't know, but I almost felt like something grabbed my hand and pulled me into doing it. And I did it. And the car went right by us, like I'm talking this close. And I am very sure we would have been dead if I hadn't had that happen. And I was very frozen and did not know what to do. And it was suddenly like something else just took control and went, oh, here's what you do. Of course. I had no idea. I was 16.
Yeah, I used to get stomach issues when I wasn't supposed to go somewhere. And one of the times I was younger, I was probably 17, almost 18, and there was a party, and of course I didn't want to go. It was like I should have wanted to go, but I didn't really want to go. But everybody was going to be there. I had to go, and then all of a sudden, I just started getting these pains in my stomach, and I was in fetal position on the floor. I ended up calling my mom, and it was hard. There was no cell phone. I had to get up to get the phone on the cord, and I'm laying on the floor with the cord, and I'm like, mom, you need to come. We ended up going to the hospital, everything, and down. It's we think it's just air. It must just be gas. It's just something we don't see anything wrong. And that night, a whole group of my friends, everyone that I would have went with, ended up getting DUIs. And some of them were 18 and they got more trouble because they were 18 and there were people there that were 16, 17, but they were all high schoolers, whatever. But then after that happened, I started getting the stomach issue more and more. I just never went to the hospital again because I learned that lesson. And I was like, oh, once I started not feeling good, and there's been times where it wasn't always that dramatic. It was there was a family party and I got the stomach issues. I had to go. And then I ended up finding out that somebody was, they announced they were getting divorced. So it's not always been life or death, but yeah, I did. Yeah, that started when I was 17 years old, where I would literally be on the ground. Wow. That's what spirit would have had to have done for me to not go to the party.
Yeah. The other part of it I want to say too, to anybody listening, is you will always get a hit when you meet people. Trust that hit too. You usually, if you look back, say you had a relationship with someone and they turned out to be someone that was not good for you, that lied to you, that was not a good person. If you look back, you probably can see how your intuition was trying to get your attention when you met the person, or something that they did that you kind of overlooked. So our intuition is often very strong around meeting others and really warning us. So